Hey there everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Wandering Ukie Cheese Cafe. So I figured that I've been doing a lot of wandering vlogs these past couple of months, but it's felt like a while since I've done a classic barbecue episode in my backyard, so I thought I could revisit that and take care of that while we're in the middle of June, especially on Father's Day weekend. So my goal today is going to be doing a little bit of a classic dish for me. Kind of realizing that classic is a word I'm going to be coming up time and time again, just like the word cozy, but what can you do? Some vocabulary is just part of my character. But all that to say is that I'm going to be doing a bavette steak that I've shown off countless times on the channel, particularly the early days of the channel when I was mostly doing cooking in the backyard. But I'm also going to do some Mediterranean chicken with a nice vegetable platter all together, and I'll show you how to do it from start to finish and maybe a couple of tricks, especially with potatoes. But before we get into that, here's one thing you can do. Click that subscribe button below and put your notification bell on, because that way, if there's a new video ready to view, you're gonna get a pop-up on your phone. Plus, just give me a thumbs up on this. The more likes I get, the more these videos are promoted across YouTube because of algorithms or other various supernatural things that promote me, so that would help me a lot more. Of course, if it's a new episode, that means I am gonna have to open up a brand new brew for myself. And luckily I have a nice one that's one of my style, something from the Brewski Pub that's around St. Paul Street or De la Commune Street in Old Montreal. And I've got their Migration IPA, which is a combination of their Elixir, Citra, and Nectaron hops. I'm still new to the world of hops, but from my understanding, when you have Citra and Nectaron in here, it's going to be a New England style beer. Naturally, it's perfect for weather like this because it is fruity, a little bit bitter, but perfect if you have warm temperatures. And in case you're jumping now after all this time, I did visit Brewski a couple of times on the channel. Like, one of my favorite ones was when I visited there around summer 2022 before going to Nelson Garden for a nice beef tartare dinner. If you want to see that episode again, I'm going to suggest clicking on the card in the top right corner and you can watch that one. And as you can see, this is your classic New England IPA. It's hazy and it almost looks like fruit juice here. So, cheers to some wonderful barbecue stuff that's going to be coming down the road. Delicious.
Sugar, oh honey, honey, you are my candy girl, and you got me wanting you, honey, oh sugar, sugar, you are my candy girl, and you got me wanting you. I just can't believe the loveliness of loving you. I just can't believe it's true. I just can't believe the wonder of
There we go. So like I said, in addition to a steak for supper, I kind of want to get a little bit of meal prep done so I can get some good lunches ready and take advantage of barbecuing. And I was even thinking, I do a lot of beef when I'm grilling stuff. What about a chicken recipe? And I looked it up and I thought, oh yeah, there's Mediterranean style chicken, which does seem pretty tasty. And it's a pretty straightforward one if you have all the ingredients in your fridge and pantry. Luckily, I had everything here, so the only thing I really needed to get was chicken breast. So at least there was that. So what I have over here to get started is, I was just chopping up about 3 cloves of garlic. I know, it seems minimal considering I am Ukrainian. I always say that I love extra garlic, but for the purposes of this, it's really just for a marinade. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm just going to be combining all of this into one bag here. This is one case where you won't need to have a mixing bowl for everything. Actually, what am I doing? Okay, let's clear some room over here. It feels like a case of I was getting everything prepared in advance, but then didn't think of the practicality of trying to record this on camera or the setup. Now, I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier, but there we go. I'm getting all the garlic over here in the bag. As much as possible. There we go, all here. And I'll just keep this aside until the rest of the ingredients go in. Next thing I'm going to do is get a little bit of olive oil here. And this is kind of similar to when I was putting together some Greek-style chicken, except compared to that one, where they were using at least a half a cup of olive oil, you only need about 3 tablespoons worth in here to just coat everything. So take 1. And like I said, the beauty is you just throw it all in the bag without having to do any mixing in advance. 2 here. And I'll do a 3rd one right now with maybe a little bit of a runoff in case I was stinging on one of those tablespoons. So there we go, that's kept aside. So yeah, only about 3 tablespoons of olive oil instead of half a cup like the Greek style chicken I did back in, oh yeah, it was like 2020. Yeah, that's really set it ablaze. The early days of the channel, so if you want to see that tomfoolery, I'm putting a card in the top right corner and you can watch that one. But there's a bit of remnants of oil on this thing, so what I'm going to do next is I'm just going to use some lemon juice. And I got one I could squeeze out because the idea here is I can just give it a rinsing with some pressure. And yeah, it's going to be around the same amount that you use, 3 tablespoons. So 1, 2 here, and 3. I feel like lemon juice I use pretty often for chicken if I'm doing one of those recipes. But I also love it when I use it in Brussels sprouts too. Which, by the way, I was planning to use originally, but my fruit store near home didn't really have any, so I had to improvise with some other veggies. And so, now that that's done, we're going to be moving on to some of the drier ingredients. Okay, so I'm going to need about 1 teaspoon of paprika, or like a dry pepper powder. Something that I used here for spice mixes in the past, because it's like a binding agent I find, just because when you put that in and mix it with salt, pepper, garlic, it kind of mixes and blends, so you're not even going to notice it's there as a result. And okay, well, I guess we'll move on to the ½ teaspoon. So the next thing I'm going to be doing is ½ teaspoons each of these dried oregano, plain black pepper, and salt. And that's a good thing too, because for a lot of things I try not to use too much salt in my cooking. Too much sodium, that can be a little bit bad for you. It's little things that come to mind as I get older, because I know that I probably wasn't paying attention to what I eat as much as I should have, but I've made a lot of changes, as you can see with the amount of vegetables that I do in my cooking. Okay, so oregano. I've grown to really love the smell of oregano. And what helps too is that garden that I have over here on the side, that has a huge oregano plant that I put a few years ago that has been regrowing over time, and it's become this giant beast that I can always refer back to or pull out, or even share with friends if I have to. Okay, so there we go. We got all the dry ingredients here, and then I could just throw it all in. And then, oh, actually I'm forgetting one more thing. I can put the chicken in here at the same time and kind of just mix it all together. So I'm going to be right back, and I'm going to fetch me bird. There we go. So we're continuing on with the recipe. Now, this thing would call for about 4 boneless chicken breasts, but I guess it all depends on the size you're going to be using for your cooking. I was over at the Jean Talon market, as you saw earlier, for some of the market vibes, so I thought I'd stop up at the Boucherie du Marché and get myself some fresh chicken breast. So it's going to be about 2 breasts worth, and it's about like 744 grams, so you're probably looking at close to 1.5 pounds of bird. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just opening up the pack, and you just pierce a couple of holes in here. My guess is that when you're going to be marinating it, then this is a way for the marinade to penetrate inside the chicken breast. Because depending on how you cook this, chicken breast can be a very dry meat. Or at least I feel like it could be a dry one, because I always remembered growing up that we would cook this thing for about 1.5 hours in the oven. It's, you know, it was cooked probably thoroughly, but the thing is, you lose a lot of the juices if you cook it too much. So it's like a little bit of a balancing act, I find. Okay, now that I have some holes pierced, I'm just gonna throw this in. Okay, these breast pieces are a little larger than I expected. So, yeah, they were just folded in and compacted. So I'm just gonna take this, throw it in here, and because I just want to make sure that I don't infect myself, fold up the glove like this. And there we go. Let's just get this remaining spice in here. So I know it's kind of attached to the side. All right. And you're good to go. So then once you're done with that, just mix it around, and then you just put it in your fridge to let it marinate for a little bit. Minimum amount you need is about 20 minutes for it to penetrate. Otherwise, you could go up to maybe 24 hours for that. I've heard there are some marinades though that when you leave it for too long in the fridge or freezer that it can actually deteriorate the meat. I have no idea if that's even true because I've never marinated for that long. But I'm just gonna play it safe and just do the minimum because I'm also pretty hungry. And luckily with all the prep work I'm doing for the barbecue, it should have plenty of time to stew. And at the same time, I'll bring it in and then bring out my steak. And we're gonna get that set up and I'll show you my trick for that, which is a simple trick. Now that I have my chicken stewing in the fridge, I'm ready to prepare my steak, which is gonna be my usual bavette that I like to do on this channel so often. Once again, if you haven't been following me for years, then I'm gonna have to give credit to Canadian Dave in the comments section because he was the one that introduced me to this cut of steak. Because prior to that, I really only stuck with contrefilet, like strip loin steak, ribeye steak, or faux filets, we say up here in Quebec. And maybe a T-bone steak if I was thinking about my dad, because I was always told T-bones were his favorite steak, and there were occasions I would do that to be able to pay tribute to him. And especially that small tenderloin piece, because that's the most tender part of it. It's just gonna melt in your mouth like it's butter. But bavette could be good too. Sometimes it can be tough depending on how you're eating it, but when done right, it's amazing. And for your marinade there, I've looked up online, there's so many different variations you can do, but the simplest one is the one that Canadian Dave had told me about ages ago. You basically just take yourself like a good tablespoon of Dijon mustard, and then you throw it into a mixing bowl. And then after you're done with that, you really just have to take some olive oil, like maybe the equivalent of a tablespoon worth. Quantities may vary depending on who you're talking to, but as long as you have these two ingredients in it, you're pretty much fine, because it seems like that this is a fancier cut compared to some other cuts, like your inside round pepper steak that I'm sure if you're growing up, you remember having that as kids, because it's one of the more affordable pieces you can never find. And pepper steak is because it would have like layers of pepper on the edge of it. But I've heard of a pepper steak dish in the past, like mixed maybe with some other vegetables, maybe with pasta, or maybe my memory is a bit jumbled up because I remember pepper steak being referred to as a lot of things, like the steak itself or the dish. I'm kind of rambling again and reminiscing, aren't I? I'm 40 years old, what can I say? I feel like I used that trophy before. Come on. But nevertheless, once you have that all mixed up, it's gonna be a nice creamy texture in there. And then when you're done with that, you just take your steak. And there's some differences that I do now. What I like to do is when I get my steak, I get about a good 200 to 270 grams, which is the equivalent of almost half a pound. And then I just divide it into two. Because had you asked me years ago, I probably would have been taking these steaks and then having the full thing for supper. But I feel like for my well-being and also for being cost effective, I cut this into two and I get 2 meals out of it. So this piece of steak that I got, oh, this is from TNT over in Brossard, which has some pretty good deals. It's like 270 grams for $11.64 Canadian. So that means when I split it up, it almost comes to like less than $6 a steak, which is crazy because if you're to go for a restaurant, I guarantee you'd be paying a lot more for that. So I'm just gonna stew this around, mix it up. And then I'm gonna keep it aside once I'm done here, and then after that, I will be preparing some vegetables to go along with the fire. Luckily, those aren't gonna be as strenuous as these, even though when you really think about it, it's just throwing some ingredients together, marinate it, let it stew on its own, and then it's simple. So speaking of healthy eating, as I was talking about before, I wouldn't be doing a proper grilling if I wasn't doing a vegetable platter. And yeah, I'm fully aware that I'm talking about being healthy while I'm having a beer over here. But the truth is, we all have some kind of vices in our lives, so pick your poison and try to make the best with everything else. Yep, that's my stance about it. I don't want to make this like an old style of PSA from the 1980s or 90s.
Don't you put it in your mouth, don't you put it in your mouth, don't you stuff it in your face, don't stuff it in your face.
I remember that one too. I know I've made a joke about it. But regardless, I got a couple of good ones here. As I've said before, I don't have any Brussels sprouts today, but I am sticking with broccoli because I love this stuff on the grill. You just put a little bit of olive oil, maybe some seasoning, and then it has a very oaky taste. Gonna be doing some red pepper also, very simple as well, and even something I wasn't so crazy about growing up. I feel like I only had this once at home. Oh yeah, I remembered. It was around my days in university where there was a sandwich place across from Concordia that was called Sant'Angelo's. I liked having their veal parmesan sandwich because I always had like provolone cheese. I also had some sliced marinated eggplant. I tried to make it on my own and I thought, I'm not a big fan of that at all. But it seemed like the trick to that is that you really have to make sure it's marinated and cooked thoroughly, otherwise it's gonna have no taste at all. And I have to give credit to my buddy Sam in the comments section because being over at his place once for a barbecue and then him dousing it in avocado oil is what made me realize that this stuff is great. So it's all going to be pretty simple stuff to tell you the truth. I'm just going to be slicing up the broccoli, slicing up the pepper and then the avocado and then dousing it with a little bit of olive oil just because that's the oil I use the most when I'm doing cooking. And in terms of seasoning, well, I'm going to use my homemade Herbe de Provence. This is like a spice mix that you could find around the south of France and it uses like fennel, it uses savory, you could put parsley in there, like it's a whole bunch of stuff, but there's no one way of doing it. There's a whole bunch of variations. But if you want to find out how to make this on your own with my recipe, I'll put a card in the top right corner for you and you can watch that one at a later time. Because for now, I'm just going to be focusing on the broccoli and the vegetables. Wait, broccoli and vegetables. As if broccoli isn't a vegetable. There we go. I got the barbecue all set up, but I said before that this thing took a lot of a beating over the 8 years I've had this thing, and I know I'm gonna have to replace it probably very soon, but considering all the damages in the inside, it seems like it's held up pretty well. I guess I'm kind of being careful about it, but actually I don't know what else I could say. So once again, if you're not sure about what my setup is, I've got this Kamado grill that I like to do because it's deep enough that you could have enough space to do a whole chicken. If you're into it, you could do some smoking with your meat and among other things too, and it's pretty spacious. I like to use hardwood charcoal lumps, which are just like pieces of maple wood treated with carbon there, instead of other ones that might have other chemicals and God knows what. And in terms of things I'm going to be lighting it with, it's these simple bricks that are made out of like wax and sawdust combined together. It's a natural way of doing this without having to resort to lighter fluid. I know there's probably other methods of doing this, like you could get a chimney for your charcoal, but for my system, like for my purposes, this system is the one that I prefer the most. So then, all I really got to do is take this bottom grate, open up to get the airflow going so that as I ignite it, it's going to let it go in and heat up pretty well. The only thing that's going to be tricky is if this lighter still works. Okay, it still works. If it's not working, it probably means you're out of fluid and you're probably going to have to get it replaced eventually. And there we go. We got our fire going. And at the same time, it looks like that I'm also running out of my IPA here. So that means I'm going to have to move on to something else. And I have an appropriate one too for today. So I mentioned this microbrewery before when I was doing some visits around the Plateau Mont Royal. It's Le Dispensaire, and it's called the 50 Cream Ale. If you're wondering about where Le Dispensaire is, I visited when I did a hop along Duluth Avenue. Actually, it's located on Prince Arthur, but I did that as a starter beverage before going to Duluth. That was recorded back in August 2022, so I'll put a card in the top right corner for you and you can watch that one. But the main reason I got this today is because I really love cream ales. With this one, when you look at the can, it's 50 with 2 coins. So it's almost like a way of paying tribute to Labatt 50. And I am recording this on Father's Day too, so I feel like it would have been appropriate to do something that's 50 related, even if it's not the legit 50. But in terms of cream ales, I read a lot that when you're serving them, you can actually give it a little shake, and it's going to be a bit more ideal. And then when you open it up, it is going to get a little bit foamy here, but whatever. Unlike other beers, where you would pour it like at an angle and then finish off with a foam, this is one where it's very similar to when you see people serving Guinness or stouts over at a bar. You can just pour directly here, let it build up a foam, stop, and it's going to dissipate over time too, so that you're going to lose less foam, and then the liquid's going to rise up, and then you can keep refilling it again. I don't know the whole logic and science behind it, but it's just what I've seen and read about, and I thought, well, might as well do it the right way. You know, it is what it is, like I keep saying, and I feel like, again, it's appropriate for Father's Day, considering I'm 40 years old, and, you know, I'm not exactly lucky enough to have my dad around here to share a beer with, but it's a good meeting of both sides. His classic lager, you know, the classic dad beer, granddad beer, and me with the hipster craft beer, for lack of a better term. So cheers everyone, and happy Father's Day to everybody too who's watching this, or after the fact. Okay, so this grill is starting to get well heated up, so that means it's going to be time to get some cooking done. So I have here some baked potatoes I'm going to be putting in here. And there's actually a little trick to this. If you're to do this in the oven or on the grill from start to finish, like right away, it's going to take you at least an hour to do that. But one trick that I learned is that you can put your potatoes in the a microwave after poking some holes in there to make sure it has some air to flow through and not explode. Pre-cook it, throw some olive oil in it, wrap it in foil, or in my case, slice it in half and then add some garlic to give some flavor. Then you wrap it in foil, and then you can just apply it into the grill directly. And that way it's going to take you like maybe a good 30-35 minutes depending on your temperature, and then you're fine. And my chicken has had enough time to stew in its juices, so hang on, I'm just going to pull a glove out of my ass. Voila. Because I want to make sure I'm sanitary, I'm not going to be infecting myself. So once again, I got 2 chicken breasts here that have been put together in the Mediterranean marinade. So I got also one here, and number 2. There we go. And I guess just for lack of waste, I'm just going to put some garlic on here. That way it's going to be going to use. There we go. So it's only going to take like apparently, well, according to the instructions I've read, it's going to take like 6 minutes on each side, but frankly, I don't know if I can believe that. Oh, good news, no fire, so it's not going to be the same as I did the last time. Now, pull the glove off and pull it upside, like inside out, so that way you're not going to be infecting yourself. And the good news is because I had to do some cleanup out here, I have a garbage bag, so that means I can just keep this aside and not have to worry about any infections whatsoever, or going inside, coming back out, washing my hands and being an asshole altogether. Wait, wash your hands and being considered an asshole? It's a funny world we live in. All right, let's see how this chicken is looking now. Oh yeah, I'm getting some good char marks on this thing, so I know it's gonna be cooking quite nice. Might have to leave it here for a few more minutes to make sure that the interior is fine. Because even though I said I'm kind of used to overcooked chicken from when I was growing up, the truth is when things are on the barbecue, even if you overcook it, it's gonna be awesome, nevertheless. Potatoes, I'm probably gonna need to let this sit a little bit long because potatoes can take some time before they're all well cooked. But while I'm doing the chicken, I think I can get my steak all set up. So these bagets have been sitting here for, I forget how long, but long enough they've been stewing in their own juices. So in this case, I'm just gonna put 1, 2, and take whatever mustard is left in here, and spread on the ones that look like they're kind of lacking a bit of marinade. So just like that. And the idea with the steak is that I'm gonna let it char for about a good 2 to 3 minutes, or 3 to 4 minutes on each side, flip it around, do another 3 to 4 minutes, and then afterwards just play it by ear. Because I wanna make sure these things are cooked well enough that I'll be able to eat them, but not so worried about it because steak is one of those things that even if it's grilled all the way through the top, but then it's still red on the inside, you're fine. Because that's how beef tartare is made. You just make sure that the top and the bottom is all disinfected, and then that means the inside is good to go. I've covered this before on the channel, so I'm not going to get into it right now. All you need to know is this is going to be awesome, and it's a great way to finish up the meats before I finally do the vegetables.
see the curtains hanging in the window in the evening on a Friday night. Little light is shining through the window, lets me know everything's alright. Summer breeze makes me feel fine, blowing through the jasmine in my mind. Summer breeze makes me feel fine, blowing through the jasmine in my mind.
Now let's see how this is doing. Ah, yeah. Great steak that we have over here, which means it's probably time to take the bavette off. I'm gonna mix it with the chicken for now, and then it's gonna be the great way to finish up the meal, and at the same time, get the vegetables grilled. So, once again, olive oil and Dijon. It's all you really need for bavette, but it's super tasty. The potatoes I'm probably gonna leave a little bit longer because I'd rather have overcooked potatoes than undercooked potatoes. Because if you've ever had undercooked potatoes before, you know what it's like. It can be kind of nasty depending on how you look at it. Too crunchy and not very soft, so it's not gonna be very tasty. So what I'm gonna be doing next is my eggplant here, or aubergine, if you're trying to speak French. And kind of like what I was talking about before about the best type of oil to use, I have some avocado oil that's over here with a little, I'm losing my words for a second. So have it in a bowl over here. I have it with a little baster. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take each slice, add some oil, and then put it atop the grill so that it can cook on its own. And then after a few minutes, like let's say 5 minutes, I'll give it a flipping after adding some extra oil, and then let it stew. And then before you know it, we'll be able to do the rest of the veggies on the grate here, which means if all goes well, then we should be eating very shortly. And I'm hoping so too, because I am starting to feel a little bit hungry. Whoops, almost lost that here. All that time spent grilling, talking, and etc. It means that you are building up quite the appetite. All right. Such beauty. So that chicken looks pretty awesome, and I'm looking forward to trying it later in the week. But today I'm doing a classic meal for myself that I already mentioned I've done several years ago, and I like to keep doing it from time to time. So I got my Dijon marinated bavette, I got some broccoli, red peppers, a bit of eggplant, and a baked potato over here for good measure. And if I need any seasoning, well, the red pepper and the broccoli have herbe de Provence, but for all the other stuff like the potato and maybe the eggplant, probably just need a little bit of salt and then I'm good to go. But I think the first thing I should do is do a taste test to see if this bavette meets it. Does it pass the test? I'm pretty sure it does, because anything on the grill is going to be amazing. So I got it well cooked on the outside, but on the inside it's still kind of pink, which means it's going to be juicy, tender, and not too dry, where you have to have it with ketchup. Oh yeah, it's amazing stuff. Yeah, I kind of got lost in thought as I'm chewing some cow. But one thing I do know too is that that cream ale was great, and I think I have a little bit of room in me for one more brew before I wrap things up for today. And luckily I have one that's kind of nostalgic for me and ties into the first brew that I had. Or no, the second brew. So second brew was from the Dispensaire. This one is also from the Dispensaire, but it's another New England IPA because I kind of want to wrap up with New England IPA activities. And this one is called, well, Gawabunga. Because if you're like my age or you're from my generation in general, you probably think of Gawabunga or Cowabunga and it makes you think of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's kind of crazy to think just how popular they were back then. Like the TV show, the video games, the toys, and everything else that came with it. And here they are today, they're still kind of popular. I'll admit, one thing I'm kind of doing that I'm enjoying is watching the original voice actors on some panels where they're just shooting the shit together, and you can kind of see that they're all still friends, they're just like working together, and it gives you an idea what the recording sessions were like back when that original series was airing, because it was just a whole bunch of them riffing, improvising, and I don't know, just like a bunch of brothers having fun. Anyways, cheers to you all. And overall, this has been a very satisfying meal. Great way to do an old school Wandering Ukie episode, do some grilling, show a bit of a wander, good brews, and pay tribute to everyone's dads, even ones who have long gone, or, well, you know what, I don't want to make it too morbid. So on that note, thanks for watching this latest edition of the Wandering Ukie Cheese Cafe. So if you like what you see, you know what to do. That's right. Hit that subscribe button below and give me a thumbs up if you enjoy the cooking I do, my stories, my overall stupidity. As long as I'm entertaining, I know I'm doing my job properly. And if you have any ideas for future episodes, leave in the comments section. I'll see what I could do. Till then, take care and see you next time. Oh, I should have some vegetables, but I feel like I need the perfect closing song. DJ, can you do it?